It was 1 year ago today that Hamas terrorists went into Israel, killing 1,200, taking hundreds of Israelis hostage, and the conflict has raged ever since. Shaki Fahel is the president and CEO of the Canada Middle East Consulting. He joins me in studio this morning. Sir, it is good to see you. Thank you for being here.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Mike. Good morning to you and to all your listeners in Waterloo region.
How are you feeling on this 1 year anniversary?
You know, Mike, the attack on Israel on October the 7th was horrific, and it shocked the world. I was here a year ago. We all hope that it'll be a very, very quick war that Israel will wage. It is so very unfortunate that a year later to the day today, like, how do I feel? I feel numb, literally speaking, because we have been going through fear. We have been, both communities, you know, through fears, through anxieties, hoping, praying that a ceasefire will take place. It's very, very unfortunate that the war is still going. They are actually intensifying. Yesterday, they bombed Khan Yunis and they killed 34 people. They're intensifying the bombing in Lebanon. People ask, like, what's the end game? Netanyahu has turned down 4 offers for the release of the hostages. Netanyahu is playing petty politics with his own personal position. He's a walking dead man. Unfortunately, as a matter of fact, today is also the 51st year anniversary of the Yom Kippur War between Egypt and Israel. And Golda Meir was the prime minister. When the war was over, she had to step down. And that's what's going to happen to Netanyahu. And unfortunately, Netanyahu realizes that if he stops the war, you know, he's also faced with 3 different criminal charges, you know. So the feeling, you know, I wake up every morning, I watch Al Jazeera, I watch Mayadeen, I watch real-time news from the Middle East, you know, and you pray and you hope that, inshallah, God willing, you know, this is going to be coming to an end, because the atrocities that you see, it just, and I hope, you know, Biden was asked last Thursday, you know, do you feel comfortable about the Israelis' Lebanese incursion? And Biden's answer, quote, actually, I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now. Those were his words. But his words were very, very hollow, because Netanyahu has actually played Biden for the past year, you know, and every time Netanyahu defied Biden on red lines or anything else, the Israelis were really awarded with more military might, with more carriers going to the Middle East. And last week, on the 27th, a former Foreign Affairs Minister of Sweden, John Eliasson, and who is a very senior United Nations member at the United Nations Executive, said, it is so very humiliating to see, this is his quote, to see the president and the government of the United States, it is painful to see the United States president and the U.S. government being humiliated by Netanyahu, literally speaking. So it brings us today, and you know, this is right after also a Rosh Hashanah for the Jewish people. Happy Rosh Hashanah I do have many friends there out there, Mike, you know, so what is the end game? Netanyahu may have, he claimed 2 days ago, we are winning. Yes, you are winning. Tactically, the Israelis are winning, you know. The Israeli military might and the Israeli superiority in intelligence, which has been proven, you know, is not predicated on bringing peace to the region. Acquiring more land only plays in the hands of the ultra-nationalists in Israel. The end game, which there is no end game. Like, Netanyahu is not projecting to his own people an end game. What's going to happen on the day after the war stops? We know he is going to have to step down, you know. when the Israelis start really looking at the Palestinians, Mike, and they see the humanity and see themselves in the Palestinian, not the animals that gallant defense minister said a year ago today, we are going in and we are going to teach those animals as the Palestinians a lesson, no water, no heat, no, 35% of the families in Gaza today are caring for a child that's not theirs. 85% of Palestinian children have gone at least one day without food. 90% of Gaza is destroyed, Mike, literally speaking. I don't want to go into, the news is all over the past year, seeing what has been destroyed, the infrastructure, the desalination plants, the hospitals, the schools, the mosques, the churches, and so on and so forth, It emboldens the Israeli right. We have an Israeli right with Minister Smotrich of Finance and Minister Ben-Gvir that are actually laying the grounds for the attack and telling Netanyahu what he can and he can't do, because he will lose his government if he loses their support. And Netanyahu's life predicated on no creation of two Palestinian states. Two Palestinian states. And the only solution to the whole conundrum in the Middle East is a two-state solution.
I said that just before the news update, Shockey, and one of our callers said nobody wants that. They don't want peace in this region. I don't believe that in my heart. I want to think there's a chance for that, but let's talk about that a little bit further right after this break. We have to take a quick break. Shockey Fahel in studio with us, the president and CEO of the Canada Middle East Consulting. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. In studio this morning with Shockey Fahel, who's the president and CEO at Canada Middle East Consulting. Just before the break, Shockey, I had mentioned the caller that we heard from before our 9:30 news, and he said nobody wants peace in the region. I don't want to believe that in my heart. Is it possible? You mentioned the two-state solution a moment ago. Is peace possible?
Mike, there are three basic reasons for Israel's opposition to the two-state solution, okay? And the first one is the Israelis believe that all the Arab world doesn't want to live with them. They want to destroy them. That's number one. Number two, you have a segment of ultra-Orthodox nationalists that's on the rise, the settlers, that believe that God, 2,600 years ago, gave Israel the land from the Euphrates River to the Nile, including the land of Palestine. Well, that's a fallacy, because that's 2,600 years and not in today's reality. And the third one, of course, extra land they can build settlements on. There's gas, offshore gas that they can be cultivating, tourism, and so on and so forth, which is always a fallacy. The Arabs in 2002, I was on Sheila Rogers, CBC this morning, talking about the Arab peace plan from Beirut in March 2002, basically saying we will have peace, pull out of the occupied territories to the June the 4th, 1967. That's when they occupied, and we will have peace. Sharon in April attacked Jenin. There was many other Arab initiatives, including last week on the 27th of September at the United Nations, when Netanyahu stood up and said, we don't want a two-state solution, and he attacked Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, by saying he is unremitting diplomatic warfare against Israel's right to exist and against Israel's right to defend itself. The Jordanian Foreign Affairs Minister, As-Safadi, stood up representing 57 Arab and Muslim countries. That was 27th. That was last week at the United Nations Assembly. And this is what he said. All of us in the Arab world here want a peace in which Israel lives in peace and security, accepted, normalized with all Arab countries in the context of ending the occupation. withdrawing from Arab territory, allowing for the emergence of an independent sovereign Palestinian state on the June 4th, 1967 lines, with East Jerusalem as its capital. He addressed the Israelis, but the Israelis have been addressed like this many times. There's been many initiatives. We talk about the Camp David, the failure of the Camp David, the Oslo Agreement, and, what is the end game? Netanyahu may have won a lot of tactical wins. He didn't win a battle, and Netanyahu has not actually, and I'm shifting away to the Netanyahu has not accomplished anything. Actually, he went out last year to try and free the hostages. He has not freed the hostages. He went out last year to try and destroy Hamas. He has not destroyed Hamas.
How do we deal with Hamas?
Hamas is part of the fabric of the Palestinian people, and everybody and the media will have that Hamas does not recognize the state of Israel. In their charter in 2017, Hamas did accept the state of Israel, providing they will pull out of the occupied territories, and East Jerusalem as the capital. It's the same as Hezbollah, They are part and parcel of the fabric of the Palestine. It's a political party. Hamas is a political party. What we have to do, and hopefully, we need to have an election. We need to have an election after all of this said and done, and to try and we need to move forward, Mike. We cannot be stuck in this conundrum. Every few years, we have a war, and every few years, the world is up in arms, and every few years, and this war this year, the past year has created, looking at Canada and the polarization that's happening in this country amongst the Jewish community, amongst polarization against Islamophobia, polarization against anti-Palestinian, carrying a flag is a crime. So there's a huge polarization that has taken place here, and so what is the solution? We need to have a solution. The solution is not by attacking Lebanon and given 126 villages in southern Lebanon, Mike Farwell, have been given warning to vacate because the Israelis, it's 25% of the population of Lebanon, to vacate and go in the north of the Litani, because they want to erase these villages and they want to create a safe zone. Well, that doesn't work, because in 1982, they attacked Lebanon, Peace for Galilee, they called it then, and they went into Beirut, and they were hoping to appoint a president in Beirut, which was Bashir Gemayel, as a friend and what have you. Well, Bashir Gemayel, the president, was assassinated, and that 1982 is called in Israel as the Vietnam War of Israel, because that's how bad it was. And they pulled out, and that's how Hezbollah was created in 1982 over the 1982 invasion of Israel. So acquiring land is not going to give you peace. The only peace in the Middle East, and I've been saying this for 50 years, and everybody else, is having two-state solutions predicated on the United Nations resolutions 242 and 338. Resolution 242 was in 1967, after the Six-Day War. The United Nations said to the Israelis, pull out of the occupied territories, land for peace. They did not do that. Resolution 338 in 1973, today, 51-year anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, predicated on implementing Resolution 242, okay? And that didn't happen. So where do we go from here? I hope, I really, truly hope, and, yesterday, I have to talk about our government here, in the Francophonie meeting, our Prime Minister fell short, from condemning Israel's incursion into Lebanon. He talked about the ceasefire, It took us a long while to have him talk about the ceasefire, by the way, because when I was on your show here, he has not talked about the ceasefire, and we cannot be silent. This is the time for leadership. Our leadership, whether it be a discount. Macron yesterday, also 2 days ago, told Netanyahu that we will stop shipping weapons to you. Netanyahu lashed out at him, literally speaking, and chastised him. We don't need you. We don't need France. We can do it on our own. That was Netanyahu's response. So today Israel is being isolated, okay, literally speaking, throughout the whole world. The lobby in the United States is getting weakened, because 17 years to 25-year-old young Americans do not agree with Biden and with his policies at all. And to have the United Nations last week tell the United Nations head Guterres, you can't go and we will not allow you to come into Israel, is an insult. I'm glad that Jolie actually condemned that, and the whole world condemned that position. The ICJ, the International Court of Justice, told Israel, your occupation is illegal. You should stop building settlements. You should pull out of the occupied territories, And the ICC, the International Criminal Court, which we as Canadians had a tremendous hand in its founding, under the leadership of my good friend Lloyd Axworthy, who I think was one of the best foreign affairs ministers in this country, he actually had a hand in the creation of the International Criminal Court. And on this note, to all of you listeners here, Lloyd Axworthy is in town this coming Thursday. He is going to be unveiling his new book, My Life in Politics. He is going to be at the United College, University of Waterloo, which was formerly St. Paul's College. Lloyd Axworthy was the chancellor there, and we will be presenting 2 scholarships in his honor, and he is unveiling his book. So you are all very welcome to come. It's between 5 to 7 o'clock at United Way. And I am honored to be hosting Lloyd Axworthy here for a lunch on Thursday, and you're welcome to come, Mike, but you can make it. And thank you for hosting him here on your show on Thursday.
Mr. Axworthy will be on the show on Thursday when I am in Sault Ste. Marie. Shockey, we're fresh out of time.
I just want to add one thing very, very quickly.
30 seconds.
The United Nations, America has got to stop the veto at the United Nations. If we need to have peace in the Middle East, bring the United Nations, pull your veto out, recognize Palestine as a country and as a member of the General Assembly, then implement the resolutions in fairness, in justice, in security for both sides, Israel and the Palestinians. And we hope that will happen soon so we can get out of this quagmire. Thank you very much, Mike. Go Rangers, go.
Thank you, Shockey. It's good to see you this morning. Shockey Fahel is the President CEO of Canada Middle East Consulting. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio.